Hi, happy Cinco de Mayo, which means the 5th of May. And in Mexico, it's their Independence Day, just like in America here, 4th of July is our Independence Day. So it's important to their culture and their history. So we're going to use this day as a way to learn a little bit more about some artists that are from Mexico, as well as some traditional art from Mexico and Central and South America. We're going to start with a papel picado, which is a paper banner like you see here on your screen. Now these are very fancy cut. You can order these online. You can go to a store and buy these and hang these to decorate for events just like Cinco de Mayo, or you can make them at home on your own. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I've made one here that's behind me out of little squares of paper. And that's all you need. Construction paper, pieces of wrapping paper, tissue paper, magazines, anything that you want to make yours out of. I used small square or rectangular shapes, any color that you want. I'm going to show you a larger one so that you can see it clearly on the screen. So I'm going to bring it down here to the table so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to do an accordion fold. So that's where you're going to take the paper. I'm going to fold it backward, and then I'm going to fold it the opposite way. So it's a zigzag fold. I'm going to keep flipping it over and over, folding that paper. So when it's folded, okay, just like that. Now that I've got my fold, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut some designs. So I'm going to draw the designs on here so you can see what they're going to look like before I cut them. And they can be any shape you want. Okay. There. You can get as fancy with this as you want to. So I drew on the side there the shapes that I want to cut. I'm going to take my scissors and cut on those lines. So there's one. Now when you open the accordion, lay it flat, you've got those shapes cut into your paper. And then all you have to do is hang a string somewhere. I've got clothespins. You could run the string through the holes that you cut in the paper if you want to, and hang that in your home to decorate, to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. So now we've got our decorations up. Let's talk about some art, famous artists that from Mexico that created art, and then we'll talk about some traditional folk art from that area. So the first one I wanted to share with you, let's go back to the share screen. Here we go. All right. So this is Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo. Diego Rivera was born in Mexico in 1886. And he's most known for his murals that represent the history of Mexico. He started at age 10. He earned a scholarship to an art school in Mexico City. So he started very young with his art career. Then he earned another scholarship that allowed him to travel to Europe. He studied in Spain, and then eventually he settled in Paris. He started in the Cubist style. Now, the last video I did before this one was about Pablo Picasso and George Braque, the ones that invented the Cubist style. And Diego used this style in his early artwork, but then he quickly developed his own style of art. And this is when artists become more famous, more well-known, when they start to develop their own style. They show their unique personality in their artwork. That's what sets them apart from everyone else. So he began to create more simple forms with bright, bold colors. He returned to Mexico in 1921, and he and a fellow painter, David Alfredo Siqueiro, began painting murals all over the city. So let's take a look at one of his more well-known art pieces. Okay. So this is the Flower Cellar from 1942. I found this picture from diegorivera.org. And you can see the bright, bold colors, simple shapes. There's not a lot of tiny, grand details. Very simple, but you can easily see what's happening here. You have the lady on her knees holding this large group of calla lilies. Aren't they pretty? All right. Now, he was married to Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo was much younger than him. In fact, they married, divorced, and married again. And she is known for mixing a surrealist style. Surrealism is painting things that don't look like they could happen in real life, almost as though they're part of a dream world. And she mixed that with traditional folk art styles, things that she saw around her growing up. She was born in 1907 in Mexico in a little house they call La Casa Azul, which means the blue house. And that today is a museum. She began studying medicine, and she was in a terrible trolley accident. It broke most of the bones in her body, almost all of them. And while she was healing from that, she was in bed, and she began to do the only thing that she could do at that time, which was draw and paint. And the only subject she had to paint was herself. So a lot of her work are self-portraits. And during that time, she discovered her love for art, and this is when she decided to become a professional artist. She did heal, but was in a lot of pain the rest of her life from this accident. She created over 143 paintings. 55 of them are self-portraits. And in 1953, she had her first solo exhibition. But because she was bedridden at that time, an ambulance had to take her to the exhibit, and they set up a bed there in the gallery for her to greet people that came to view her artwork there. And that's where she stayed the entire night, greeting those that came to see her work. So let's take a look at one of her paintings. So this is one of her self-portraits. She did use a lot of monkeys, which are animals that are native to Central and South America and Mexico. And you can see, you wouldn't necessarily see a cat and a monkey and a person posing in a jungle with, you know, dragonflies and butterflies and things like that. This is not very realistic in terms of the things that are around her. So that's what makes it look sort of surrealistic, almost as though she's dreaming it. And there are symbols in here for her, lots of different things, like the crow, the thing around her neck kind of symbolizes the pain that she feels from the accident that she was in. You have the monkey and the cat here. Very dark animals kind of hiding ominously in the background. There are a lot of things that have meaning to her. Now, because of Diego Rivera's love of Mexican history and her love of traditional Mexican folk art, we're going to take a look at this traditional folk art from Mexico, which is called a mate bark painting. Now, a mate is paper made from the pulp of a fig and a mulberry tree, and traditionally they show flowers and birds. Some of them will have other plants and animals in the pictures, but traditionally you will have flowers and birds. And most of those birds have big, flamboyant, bright feathers, long tail feathers. They look very fancy. So we're going to try to mimic this. I have one that I finished this morning behind me here. You can see my bird. I did some of the calla lilies like you would see in Diego Rivera's paintings. And I have instead of other flowers or patterns, I have a sun here and some stars. You can put whatever you like. I also did patterns on the tail feathers and on the wings here. So let me show you how I created this. To give the look of the bark, I have a paper grocery bag, okay? And I'm going to tear that off of the bag. That's a lot of noise. Got my big piece of paper here. I tore out of a grocery bag. It's not square or rectangle. It doesn't have straight edges. I'm going to wrinkle it. Wrinkle it, roll it around in your hands. You can step on it if you want. Okay. Then you open it up. Wrinkle it some more. Now, it's all wrinkled, and now it looks similar to bark. Okay. You could even take a brown crayon on its side and run along it to give it some more texture if you want to. But this is going to create the look of your bark. Now we're going to draw our bird. And because it's going to be hard for you to see the bird on here, I'm going to draw it on my sketch paper first to show you how to draw the bird. Okay. So I'm going to pull out a marker again. You would use pencil so that if you don't like something that you draw, you can erase it, and you can always correct it or fix it or go back and add things to it, and then erase out the parts you don't want. So to do a simple bird, I started with an oval for the head. Okay. Then I'm going to give another oval or egg shape for my body right here. I'm going to give sideways V for my beak. Now it's already starting to look like a bird. Now I want to give it wings. So maybe I've got a wing that comes up this way. So think about doing a V, but curve it. I'm going to curve up, back down to the side of the bird. There's one wing. I'm going to do another one over here. Now you can do yours any way you want. And the first one I did, you can see I have a wing that comes to the side here, and then the other wing from the back behind the bird there. This one I did a little differently. You can do your bird any way you want. Give your bird an eye. You want to connect the head to the neck, kind of like this, and right there. Now this part in here, I would probably go and erase with my pencil later. Then you can add the tail feathers. So I'm going to have them curl up this way. There's one. I'm going to do another one this way. All right, I have 3 great big tail feathers there on this bird. And maybe you want to add something on the top. Sometimes those birds have the big feathers across the top of their head. If you want to leave it smooth on the top, you can certainly do that as well. But since I've got this curl going here, I'm going to add a curl on the top of my bird. And you can change your bird, like I said, to look any way that you want. So now that we've done that and we've learned a little bit about how to draw our bird, I'm going to start another one here. I'm going to actually put it on my paper. Take my pen here. I'll do a little bit different bird this time. So I'm going to have the beak come this way. And the eyes of the bird up here on the sides, like that. Draw the top of the head, like a lowercase letter N. Curve it in here. Draw my oval at the bottom. Almost like drawing that Pablo Picasso turkey we did the other day. I'm going to add some wings. Zigzag line there. Curve out. Zigzag it back in. And I'm going to add, I'm going to square this tail feather off a little bit. Okay, so there's my bird. Now fill it in with patterns, decorations. So you can see on the tail here, I put circles and dots. It can be very simple. Dots, lines, squares, triangles, anything, any shape or line that you want to do. Or you can do more detailed things, like you can put flowers. I have stars, a sun here. Let's go back and take a look at the picture of the actual mate painting. They have daisies here, and the green in the back almost looks like leaves or maybe a fern of some sort. So you can put anything that you want. Okay. I'm going to divide my wing into sections here. All right. And maybe I've got a pattern down the middle. So I'm starting to add my details. And I'll add a leaf over here. Maybe I'll add a little one over here. Okay. Continue drawing until you fill in your space, and then start coloring with crayons. And you will end up with a really pretty picture that mimics the style of the amate bark paintings like they have in Mexico. Happy Cinco de Mayo, and stay creative.